Awesome. Well, thanks everyone for coming. We can go ahead and kick it off now. Glad to have everybody here. This is the first DAO meeting since we've announced the barn raise, so excited to dig into that and also dig into some of the other goings on of Beanstalk Farms. So we'll kick it off with Dumpling to give a general update and talk a little bit about the status of contributors.
Hey everyone. Yeah, happy to be back in the normal swing of things here with the DAO meeting. So I thought it'd be a good idea to have a quick update to let everyone know kind of where things stood is from a kind of a HR perspective. So, we had the quarterly stockholders meeting where we, we kind of gave a bit of a plan, moving forward. We were really, had brought on a lot of people, and we had some talks about, how maybe we were getting a little bit too big too quick. And, if anything, this has been an opportunity for us to really reflect on, what core level of staff, we really need. Fortunately, we've had a ton of people. Almost every contributor has, reached out to us and basically said that they're in it for the long haul. They're, here and willing to work with us, and not demanding, any kind of immediate payment or anything, and that we're going to try to work this out, and that they're willing to, to work on Beanstalk Farms, for basically as long as needed. So that was really amazing, and that was part of what allowed us to continue, to be frank. So that, thank you to everyone who's here, who kind of joined that all hands on deck rallying cry, and that was just really amazing. So, as of now, we have about 26 folks who are really, going, eye on the prize and still kind of going in their sort of former capacity. And then there's another 10 folks or so who are still on board and kind of with us, with us in spirit, but maybe not, can't quite work in the same capacity, but are still with us and are with us when we, when we kind of restart. So that's about where we are. We were previously pushing about 50. So that's kind of, I'd say we're down to about half is kind of where we are. So I know there've been some questions about that. I just kind of wanted to answer that. There has been a little bit, I've been transitioning, you probably noticed, a little bit more towards the community end of things, both because that's been a pretty high demand position, and that's been really key to this whole thing, and also because Rex has been on kind of an extended leave of absence and was already feeling a little bit stretched thin as it was. So he'll probably be rejoining in the community, but I think I'll probably be heading up the community, but mostly just because I'm more present at this point. So there's that. We've also had the addition of Publius 4443, which has been really great, who has been, kind of filling in that gap and, helping out, kind of in the operations side of things, but also just been a little bit more, present, and was always working in the background, but has been stepping up a little bit. And yeah, so there's been, the other departments are all pretty much led by the same folks. With the exception of Mod has stepped up really to the head of marketing, and we've really, he's really been shining in the last couple of weeks. So that's really been pretty amazing. Thing on my list to talk about is there's been some discussion items that we've sort of put off until this meeting. So we're gonna be going through some different items. I'll briefly read them off here, and then we're going to get to them after each department head kind of gives their updates. So there's quite a bit, and we do have a hard stop at the hour. So, just wanted to let you guys know that. So we'll be going over what our plans are for the multi-sig. Some of that still has to be finalized, but we will be talking about that in this meeting. And then we'll be going over the various BFPs that have been submitted. I just wanted to call out right now for, to really keep your eye out for scammers and scams, because, I think you all got that DM, and, we had a lot of people join the Discord, and that was really, kind of crazy. We do anticipate that, with a successful barn raise, there's going to probably be, that's just going to be the beginning. So keep your eye out. Don't click any links that are, that are DM'd to you, maybe consider turning off your DMs to anyone but friends, and just be very vigilant and help us help you by reporting those in the report scams section on the Discord. And then I just wanted to talk about some events that are coming up. We have 5 events coming up that, and a couple more that we're going to be planning. There's basically an event every day, so you really want to watch the events tab on the Discord. But right after this, we have DeFi Trader at 9 p.m. Eastern. Then tomorrow we have Liquidity. So I believe that's 12 Eastern tomorrow, so 9 a.m. Pacific. And then we have, it's going to be really fun. We're doing a happy hour Sunday, and I'm calling it like on the construction site of where the barn raiser is going to happen, because I really like to LARP. And then we have a Twitter Spaces with Idols on May 4th. And then we're just confirming one with OSFI on May 6th. So those are what we have so far. There's going to be probably one on Saturday as well. And we're just really pushing the events as much as possible up to and through the barn raiser. So yeah, that was kind of doubles as my broad update. And then I'll also I think next we're going to pass it to Maud for marketing updates. We'll go through the rest of the department heads, and then I'll probably let Silo Chad take us through those discussion items that we mentioned earlier.
Thank you, Dumpling. I'm gonna give the updates briefly, and then hoping that we make more time for questions. So if anyone is interested in any of these things, we can answer them then. The focus of the marketing department again is solely on the barn raise. So everything that we're thinking about, that we're delivering or working on, is towards the success of the barn raise, and then after that we can get back into like resuming or restarting the protocol. So when it comes from media, starting off with media, which is like journalism, newsletters, etc. We had a recent Wall Street Journal article that came out, and we're trying to mimic ones like them again, and hoping to get a few of them in the next few days. With appearances, we're having one every day, as Dumpling just said. Business development basically has been used for outreach. So the liquidity one that we're getting tomorrow was through business development. Then otherwise, the barn raise. So right now we're having the video explainer to come out. We'll also be having a video of the user interface and how to use it. And lastly, we're also working on the NFTs. Yeah, otherwise, we can ask questions on there. We'll pass it on.
Awesome. Thank you, Maud. Yeah, we can circle back with questions about those at the end. But for now, do we have Manifold here right now? Manifold, if you're around, come up on stage. I'm not sure I see him. Cool. We'll move on for now to Deez. Let's see, Deez, are you in the audience? All right, we'll go with Iriel. Iriel, you want to give an update on the copy side?
Hey guys, yeah. First of all, I just want to say it's awesome to see all the new PFPs in the DAO meeting that we never had before. So just acknowledging all the new people who've joined the community since the exploit happened, and all the support that Beanstalk's gotten from the community, especially in Discord and Twitter and in other places. So thanks to everyone for coming out, and thanks to everyone for supporting the protocol as we work super hard to get it up and running. From the copy side specifically, over the past 2 weeks, really what we've been focusing on is creating written content, whether it be scripts, press releases, the path forward article and FAQ that hopefully a lot of you have read, written content that details the plan and all the snapshots that have gone up, that give Beanstalk and Beanstalk Farms sort of like a clear outline for what each step of the process is, how money will be allocated, how the barn raise will work, and all that stuff So we're sort of in just focus and output mode, getting all the materials out so that everyone who is participating or thinking about participating in the barn race has the materials and the written stuff that they need to understand what it is they're looking at, how to use the app itself, and how to think about participating. But other than that, once we sort of get past this period, assuming the barn race is successful, which we all of course hope it is, then we'll get back into some more regular content on the blog and hopefully put out some nice analytical pieces and maybe some interview pieces with members of the community and the core contributing team. But for now, you'll just see more snapshots coming out, a couple interesting press releases, hopefully in the very near future. So just stay tuned for that.
Yeah, we like before the exploit had a series of things, for copy to work on, generalized convert, generalized minting, all of these things, all of this content, we were hoping to come out. So as soon as we're done with the barn race and we come back to, to resuming the protocol, there is so much, work to catch up on.
Great. Thanks, Ariel. Could we bring up JWW to talk a bit about community? J-Dubs, I invited you to speak.
Oh man, yeah, I couldn't speak. That was a first. Yeah, okay. So community stuff. So there's, first of all, I think a lot of people have seen some shifts that have happened to the Discord itself. So we, just to give a little bit of clarity behind that, once exploit happened, we really wanted to make sure that we were kind of able to focus on the really important things to get Beanstalk back up and running in preparation for the barn race. And so there were some things that were shifted around. We'll be moving those back over time in the near future. So you guys don't worry. Like, for example, the Bean NFT channel is still there, and we'll be putting it back live and stuff like that. But overall, what we've been doing on the community side, like we've actually seen quite a bit of growth on the non-English speaking side of the Discord. So there's been a lot of emphasis on the Chinese side and on some Spanish side. And so we've added a bunch of other languages there. If for any reason we're missing a language that anyone in this community thinks is very important for Beanstalk as we're growing, definitely let us know. And then Dumpling made the point earlier, we have a ton of events going on. We're going to have a lot more coming up next week. And we're going to have on top of that some things that are happening kind of to roll out the barn raise next Monday, kind of like a live session is what we're planning for as we go live with it. And then, there's just a handful of things that we're doing. We're working on some education pieces again. And to Eril's point, we'll be bringing more for accessibility of information, especially for newcomers. That's always something that we need to be working on at Beanstalk. We're working on that now. Obviously, we had to go through a bit of a pause just as we kind of corralled things in preparation for the barn race. But to everyone's point, and this is something we stress throughout the community, if you continue to educate others and share the protocol with others, if you ever have any questions outside of like normal class or outside of normal discussion, never hesitate to throw it in the general or send me a DM or send any of us a DM. We want to continue to get as much information to everyone as possible, particularly when it comes to the barn raise, so that everyone understands what's happening in the process. So that's kind of the quick skinny on the community side.
Great. Thank you so much, J-Dubs. I can speak to the engineering front on both the front end and back end, and also happy to answer any questions once we get to the Q&A section. So starting with front end, after the announcement of the barn raise, the front end team's sole focus has been on building out the front end interface for the barn raise. And we have a preliminary version of this done as of today and are rolling it out to testnet. So Beanstalk Farms will begin testing that and may share it also with some of the broader Beanstalk community just to play around with it. But we've moved pretty quickly on that. Wanted to give a shout out also to the rest of the front end team and to Red Beans and Jelly Bean, who've done a really great job of making some awesome interfaces here. So I think we're pretty excited on our end and excited to show it with the rest of the community. On the back end side, a couple key things going on right now. First, so the barn raise contract that will handle movement of funds and all of the different bidding related logic has been completed or is in its final stages of deployment and has been tested a couple times from different angles. So we've deployed that on a test net, and we'll be doing front-end tests with it. We're also submitting it for internal review with our engineers, as well as having folks like Nick Mudge take a look at it before deploying to mainnet. So we'll keep you posted on that front. On the migration side, so we're gearing up to do, once the barn raise is done and a snapshot is voted on when to restart Beanstalk, we'll need to do some migration work to reboot things. We're working on basically pre-preparing all of the, not pre-preparing, just preparing, all of the necessary code and migration scripts to make that happen. And so right now we have 3 separate efforts going on the backend team to basically recalculate all of the balances of farmers pre-exploit and cross-validate them so we can ensure that we have the exact right numbers and that they've been calculated using different data sets. So that's moving forward, and we hope to have that ready by the end of the week. In addition, we've been working on migration code to, for example, handle some of the events that happened right after the exploit, like resetting withdrawals and deposits and things in preparation for the relaunch. And so all of that's moving forward smoothly. The last bit to note is that we've kicked off the engagement with Halborn. The backend team and some others had a call with them this past week, and really excited about getting to work with them. We've got some things to deliver for them over the next week or so. They begin their audit, I believe it's May 9th, but I'll double check that date. And yeah, expecting to really hit the ground running with them. And we'll be sort of continually implementing the feedback that they provide as they do the audit. So unlike with Omniscia, we won't have to wait until the very end of the audit process to start making changes. We can implement them earlier. So with that, Sync, I see you're in the audience. Would you like to come up and say anything about what's going on the partnerships and biz dev front?
Hey, yeah, do you guys hear me?
Yep.
Hey, okay, great. I'll make it quick. Just want to thank you, Silo Chad, for spearheading a lot of this and everybody else. Kind of just follow up on what Mod said. We're going to have a lot of conversations over the next week with various external stakeholders. So I just want to extend my gratitude, and obviously on behalf of everybody that's a core contributor and everybody in the community, to those that have made the time already, such as Mark Jeffrey, Brad Nickel from the Mission DeFi podcast. They've been very gracious and kind to feature and speak with Publius. We're going to have tonight, I believe there's a Twitter Spaces tonight with DeFi Trader. Tomorrow, Liquidity Protocol, 12 p.m. Eastern. Next week, the Idols NFT team. And obviously, ahead of the barn raise, we'll be doing some stuff internally with the community as well. So just want to encourage everybody to spread the word about that, and look forward to everybody's participation. And just want to state that from setbacks like this, you kind of realize the projects in DeFi that really do take we're all going to make it kind of mantra seriously, and believe that. And so I just want to to those that are members of other communities, just want to extend our appreciation for the support that you've given, and obviously to the projects that have also supported Beanstalk Farms through this unfortunate situation, but we're going to hopefully try to come back from that. So other than that, just keep up the engagement, and if you guys have any questions, just reach out to us in the Discord, and we're happy to help. Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Sync. Great. Well, with that, I think that's all of the sort of core department side stuff to discuss for now. We can move into some discussion items. The first of which is the multi-sig. So I'm happy to kick off this conversation, and then this would probably be a good time for us also just to have some people come up on stage and ask questions or drop questions in the chat. So Dumpling, if you could field questions in the chat for me, that'd be great. But I'll go ahead and talk for just a minute sort of about where that side of things is at. So obviously the multi-sig and multi-sig infrastructure is going to be very important for Beanstalk moving forward. And so we've spent a lot of time over the last couple of weeks figuring out exactly what that's going to look like. And for what it's worth, this is still something that's evolving and that we'll continue to learn and develop over the next couple of days. We've studied protocols across the DeFi ecosystem, Olympus, Balancer, Compound, SushiSwap, all sorts of similar protocols that also use multi-sigs in various pieces of their infrastructure to sort of inform how Beanstalk will do things. I can speak a little bit to how things will be structured for now. And again, to emphasize, we'll be tweaking this throughout the weekend and can do another call later this weekend to go into that. So it's looking like multi-sigs will be 5 out of 9. It's a pretty standard number for signers. It'll be a mixture of Beanstalk farms, contributors, community members, and likely external stakeholders from the broader Ethereum community to make sure that we have a distribution of different stakeholders and people who have a vested interest in Beanstalk. We also expect for a number of the signers to be technical, such that if we are pushing things like BIPs, that we can have somebody look at the code outside of simply auditors or our own team and et cetera, just to have more eyes on anything that goes out. We're currently considering the merits of doxed versus undoxed signers and perhaps whether to put the line somewhere in between for right now. So cognizant that the multi-sig is an important point of trust for the community, and there's a lot of trade-offs to make there. I'm going to pause real fast and get back into this. Publius just messaged me. Did you guys want to give an update? I know you've got to jump here in a second.
Yeah. So just wanted to give a quick update to the DAO on capital. There's a ton of conversations and discussions happening with potentially interest in people trying to negotiate a deal, with the DAO OTC effectively to try to take all or some of the barn raise and structure it as a private sale instead. It's unclear how whether or not that any of that will come to fruition at the moment, but as given that the barn raise is scheduled for Monday, wanted to give a substantive update that there's a lot of discussion happening, and if there is anything to present to the DAO, we'll present it as soon as it's available, and otherwise, we'll continue to have discussions and try to see if there is anything to present to the DAO. But the concept is, at the moment, there's a lot of different chatter happening, and it's probably we'll see what happens basically, but just wanted to give a substantive update that lots of discussion happening, and hopefully we'll see what happens basically, but there's a lot of interest here.
Great. Thanks, Publius. I also see we've got Manifold on stage. Manifold, would you like to give a quick update on the Beansprout front?
Sure. So, basically just been focused on the same things Publius has been focused on. So a lot of good conversations with capital, crypto capital, TradFi capital, everything in between. So, there's a lot of excitement, I would say, or just in enthusiasm to try to figure out a way to participate in this raise in some fashion, and so just trying to make it work, and propose, get to a point where we can propose some optimal outcomes possibly for the DAO, if we get to that point, and if not, we think there's going to be a big turnout during the barn raise, if there is no private deal to propose, if that makes sense. Root is chugging along. We're building, so nothing's changed there, and yeah, I think those are my updates.
Awesome. Thanks, Manifold. Publius, anything else you'd like to add before you got to hop?
Just that this is as busy as we get, and we're sorry we're not able to hang out for the whole DAO call. Talk soon.
No worries. You will be dearly missed.
We'll believe you, Chad. All right, talk soon, guys.
Awesome. Okay, to get back to the multi-sig side of things. So what we were talking about is the merits of having folks on the multi-sig be doxed versus undoxed, or some combination of that. So just to reiterate, we're on the Beanstalk farm side really cognizant that the multi-sig is a very important point of trust with the community, and there's a lot of trade-offs to be made here. Notably, doxing the list of members of the multi-sig provides transparency and accountability across the board. But staying undoxed, or at least partially undoxed, protects the multi-sig from social engineering attacks or wrench attacks or things of that nature. We've seen other multi-sig operations use both methods, and so are working right now to figure out exactly how we'd like to structure that. And so, that's a conversation we'd like to open up to the community. So whether now or in chat, please speak up if you have opinions or ideas on that front.
How we could handle this real quick, Silent Chat, is just could keep discussion to. I know I've seen some other questions in the town hall chat. We'll try to ask those at the end. We still have a decent amount of time here, so let's keep the discussion now to multi-sig for the next couple of questions, if that works.
Yep, sounds good. And I'll wrap it up just real fast. A couple of other things that I think are important on this front. So we'll be working to implement consistent OPSEC across all signers. So I think that covers a lot of our the potential social engineering attacks. And we'll set up some participation guidelines such that, if there's a signer on the multi-sig that's not participating consistently, they'll be removed and replaced with someone who's active. In terms of where multi-sigs will get used, so we currently maintain one, which is the Beanstalk Farms budget multi-sig, which is a 4 out of 7. 5 are Beanstalk Farms contributors and 2 are Publius. Moving forward, we will likely have 2 additional multi-sigs. One will be for custodying of the barn raise funds, and that will be a temporary one to basically shuffle things around until we restart Beanstalk. And the second will be the multi-sig that manages the Beanstalk contract, which would be the backstop for pushing BIPs and other updates in the future. And yeah, I mean, I'll pause there. Let's move to some questions on this front. I'll take a look at Dumpling. I don't know if you see any in Town Hall that you'd like to.
I can call them out. So from Bean Money, we have why would we dox the multi-sigs? It's not like there won't be a record of who they are if anything nefarious happened. I guess now Bean Money, could we clarify? Are you saying we could dox them to each other, but not dox them to the public? And Bean Money, I'll wait for your response.
So to speak to the motivation for doxing, the question is whether we release the names of people who are on the multi-sig to the community. And some other projects do this as a vote of confidence, saying, hey, the list is here. These are the people who vote. If they were to steal your stuff, like you know who they are. There's obvious pros and cons to that, as I mentioned earlier. Yes, it is the case that somebody would know who they are. I think it's more of like a question of dissemination to the community on that front.
Okay, I think that answers it.
Cool, Dumpling. Any more questions in the chat?
Well, from E, why are we doxing people? But I think that it's pretty self-explanatory. But okay. Okay. I'm also happy. If someone wants to raise their hand, they could come up too. But any other? We do have other items to discuss. Uriel, go ahead.
I think Dumpling. I think the question is so. The maybe there's like a misunderstanding. So when we say doxing, we mean releasing whether or not it's someone's IRL name or their pseudonym, like releasing the name that they go by within Beanstalk to the community. So releasing the roster on the multi-sig, like not forcing everyone on the multi-sig to go under their IRL name to the Beanstalk community. Is that correct, Silo Chad? Just so that one's clear.
Yeah, to be clear, I mean, there's a variation of this as well, where you do go all the way to asking people to use their real names. I think it's more common to see something in the middle. But the primary question is the list of 5 shown at all? And so, like, to give an example, it's my understanding that Olympus DAO does not. They announced that there's 5 people on the multisig, but they don't say who they are. You can kind of deduce that one of them is Zeus or something like that, but the others are unknown. So there's examples on both sides.
A quick clarifying question, Sour Chad. I think that you said 5. Do you mean 9?
In the case of Olympus, it's 5. For us,
It is
we would
5.
be,
Okay.
yeah, it's 5 total. For us, we would have a 5 out of 9. So 5 signatures would be required for any transaction to be posted.
Understood. Okay, we have a hand.
Awesome.
Black Knight. Welcome, Black Knight. Can't hear you
Sorry,
just yet.
I was on mute. Yeah.
We can hear you
just
now. Go ahead.
Just a quick question. I know you just discussed about the doxing people for the multi-sig, but how do we know if there's no level of, not doxing, we don't need to dox people, but how do we know that there's not someone with multiple wallets that are on the multi-sig?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. So in the case that we had 9 people docs or something like that, we could have them sign a message using their individual wallets and post on Twitter or something like that. There's some roundabout ways to do this. But yeah, totally understand that that's something we should look into.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome. I guess just to wrap up, also happy to answer any other questions. So please raise your hand if you'd like to discuss this. So we are working to finalize this plan over the next 24 to 48 hours, and we'll likely propose a snapshot. I think the target right now is Saturday morning. So keep your eyes peeled for that. This is relevant to the barn raise because the barn raise will custody funds while we are, the barn raise is happening, and then while we're making the transition. So we will be using a multi-sig for that if the DAO votes on it. So keep your eyes peeled. We'll keep you posted and have more details soon. Awesome. I think the next topic we can move to is the BFPs. So Dumpling, did you want to kick this section off?
Sure. So we had the first BFP, which was the barn raise, which passed with a enormous amount of, I think it was 58 million, 60 million stock, something like that. That was great to see. And not, this can be a section where we answer questions about any of these BFPs. So, happy to take questions there. And then the next one was what to do with the $300,000 that we have, the $50,000 we have remaining from the Omniscia retainer, and then after paying Halborn, and then the $250,000 that was sent back to us from Ukraine, which is pretty awesome, I have to say. So that was expected and pretty great. There was some talk in general, which is one of the reasons that kind of prompted this coming up as a discussion item, about how much authority Beanstalk Farm should have to use that at its discretion. I know that there were some people that were, feeling like it was a little bit too generic. We just posted a couple of different bullet items, and maybe they wanted a little bit more clarity on how those funds were going to be used. And I think there were some people who even wanted to, disseminate those funds, pro rata, which, again, if that's how people, vote and want to do it, that's, that could be an option. But we just wanted to open this up to, to questions about that. But in general, our approach is to pay for the most critical services that we absolutely need. So, we're talking about our Bean.farm emails. We're talking about the internal tooling that we use. We're talking about updates to, any kind of subgraph updates or any kind of like smart contract updates that we need to use that can be kind of expensive. And just having the money so that we don't have to do a snapshot and wait 24 hours before we, need to spend it on something kind of critical. So that could be a quick, paying a contractor. That could be, so that's how we put it. That money doesn't go a terribly long way. So we have not restarted, just to give you a little bit of background, everyone a little bit of background, we haven't restarted like payroll for contributors. We haven't, we're not just hitting the restart button on the budget. And I think some people read it that way. So yeah, I kind of wanted, to throw that out as just a little bit of background, and B, we're happy to answer questions on it. So maybe we can answer those. And then the last one was the Creator DAO one, which there's been some, a lot of, that one went out maybe a little bit earlier than it should have. And so we pulled that one down, and we're happy to answer questions on that one as well. Yeah, so there was just a lot of chatter in the general, and we wanted to kind of open this up for questions on those. I'll head over to Town Hall chat now.
Yeah, keeping an eye on it, but I haven't seen any BFP related questions. Feel free to raise your hand and come up on stage if you have any questions here. While we're waiting for that, I can answer one quick one about the tokens used to bid and sow. So on the stable front, we don't have anything locked in yet, but we're expecting to support USDC at a minimum, and potentially others. So if you want to use a stable, that's the way to go. We also will add support to swap from ETH into whatever token we're using at the time of the barn raise. So that's in development now, and will be done by the end of the day. So if you have ETH, you're good to go.
Okay, let's see what we got here. Okay, so Sophocles is saying, some people were asking if the 300K would be a little more itemized, Dumpling. And yeah, I totally hear that. Silo Chad, do we have a way that we could do that without slowing us down, maybe? Or if it is a bigger expenditure, could we do a new snapshot and wait 24 hours? Can you talk us through the pros and cons of that?
Yeah, it's a great question, Sophocles. So a couple of thoughts there. The reasoning for issuing this snapshot sooner rather than later, without having like a full itemized list of exactly how we'll spend it, is just to allow Beanstalk Farms to move really quickly on things. In the snapshot, we outlined a couple of the key areas in which we would spend this money, and all of them are focused on getting Beanstalk back online. And when it comes to things like contributors, I think we've noted this in chat and elsewhere, but the focus is on, if we're going to spend money on people, it's going to be people that are like net new coming in to support Beanstalk Farms with something like a security review or those sort of key things. I think that, we could go line some of those budget items up, but it's, it would take some time for us to exhaustively lay them out. And some of those things, for example, come down to negotiations. So like, for example, if we're working with a security partner like ImmuneFi or something like that, we'll kind of discuss with them what bounties we might want to put up and things of that nature. So it's helpful just to have all of that ready to go, rather than needing to wait once we hit that position. That said, I think to expand on the itemization, so one thing that we're working on now and can release separately in the coming days is a more detailed rundown of what the Beanstalk Farms burn rate is right now. So going to those things like, what are we spending on tools, for example? We do have a number of tools that the DAO uses to operate. We can share more about what the costs are for those, but in the scope of the 250K, they're negligible, or at least like reasonably small.
Okay, we had a question about the NFTs, and we also have Deez who just hopped, who's in the audience, and we could bring up as just a quick aside. Deez, do you want to come up for a second and chat about the NFTs?
Hey, yeah. Can you hear me all right? Oh, awesome. Yeah. So cool thing about the barn raise is we also wanted to do a special barn raise NFT collection with it. We've been working on it. We're scheduled to try to finish up all the different attributes. We're looking at a new style for the Bean NFTs to kind of symbolize, I guess, reconstruction, rebirth, and to make them a little bit more fun. We haven't nailed down all the logistics quite yet as far as how the distribution will go in the model, but as soon as we find that out, we wanted to update the DAO on that as well. So, but yeah, so Mod's going to be figuring out what the best way to distribute them is going to be, whether we want to do it with the biddings or whether we want to do it with the auctions, with the sewing. But yeah, we're just really excited about it, and hopefully they'll help the barn raise. So.
Cool. Thanks, Deez. Yeah, the new ones are really, really sweet. I think you guys are really going to like them. They're, I think classic Deez underselling. So yeah, just look out for them. We'll probably, Deez, do you think we can leak something maybe tomorrow? Todd, what do you think?
I was thinking maybe to those who showed up today, they can see something.
Oh, cool.
Welcome to the DAO meeting.
Yeah, maybe the one with the arms.
I'll let you choose it, Deez.
Though, but,
okay, Deez. Yeah, you do it. You do it, Deez.
Okay, yeah,
the people have waited long enough, and they came to the DAO meeting, so pretty cool.
Cool.
Nice. Okay, well, we'll get back. We'll look for that in the town hall chat, but we'll get back to discussion, questions, more serious stuff. Not that BNFTs aren't serious. Farmer Dan, please leak. Need to see. Show me. Okay, so we had some other questions up here. Silent Chat, do you want to keep it to the BF? I guess. Well, let's talk. We have a lot of other questions. Let's talk in general. Okay, from the Guilfoyle. Is there a reason that voting stock, as opposed to earning stock, should not vest over time so that people have time to learn the protocol before they vote? Sorry, I got to reread that. Is there a reason that voting stock, as opposed to earning stock, should not vest over time so that people have time to learn the protocol before they vote?
Yeah, it's a good question. And Publius, if you're in the audience and are able to hop up and speak to that, that'd be great. From my perspective, so I mean, all stock plays both of those roles, right? In that it allows you to earn more beans, and then also is a governance related, not token really, but metric. And so it doesn't really make sense to decouple those. And also I think the logistics of stock get additionally complicated if we add some sort of separate vesting schedule, or you can't use them for governance for a while. It just makes the protocol harder to understand. And frankly, the simplicity of Beanstalk is one of the things that's lots of people find attractive about it, at least in terms of the fact that there's only one token, for example, in Bean token. So yeah, I don't know, Publius, if you want to speak any more to that, but.
Yeah, great thoughts, Chad. It's very early to say anything at this stage in terms of what the future of decentralized governance will look like from Beanstalk. Want to heed all warnings and advice, and really dig into what builds a long-term resilient governance structure in a decentralized fashion. And would love to consider everything from just having stock governance to something similar to what Optimism is doing, where they're doing a non-fungible governance token as well. There's really a lot of fun stuff to explore, but it's a little too early to say anything.
Okay, just checking for any questions that we missed. Got a hand?
Deez is typing.
Oh, Deez is typing. Okay, hold on. For one, wait. Anticipation. Brad got a hand. Ellen? Ellen.
Hey, I had this thought on governance where, like, states like California have this thing where voters can propose a ballot measure, and then it has to get a certain amount of signatures before it can go on the ballot to get voted on. So it's like a two-step process instead of what we had before, which was like just directly propose something and then it gets committed. So I just had that thought. Just wanted to share it.
Yeah, that's a great point. We're looking at some other DAOs that use this model as well. You've probably seen some around the DeFi ecosystem, but Olympus is another great example of having like multi-stage governance where there's a discussion on a forum somewhere and there's, standard templates or processes to follow to move things from a discussion on the forum to a snapshot to a multi-sig vote. And so we're working on ironing out that pipeline and kind of setting up where we think the boundaries should be. But there's a lot to study there. But yes, I do think we will head to a world where there's some more structured discussion around governance. So far, we've been very Discord heavy, but it's likely we will upgrade that.
Cool.
Thanks for the question.
All right, guys, more questions.
It's not every day you get Chad on stage. You got to hit me with the questions while I'm here.
Also got Mod, me, Dubs. Who else is in? D's in the audience can hop up. Bean.
I'm going to answer one from Town Hall Chat. Is the barn raiser method something we can use for other causes? Great idea, North. We haven't really thought through how the model might be applied in other ways, but definitely a really interesting question. So let's keep that in the back pocket. What is the right number of Beanstalk Farms contributors? That's a great question. I don't know if I'm the best person to speak to this, but I suppose my opinion here would be that, in the first quarter of this year, the goal was to help Beanstalk keep up with the growth it was seeing. And obviously a lot of that growth came over the last, couple of weeks to a month or so. But I do think it's important for Beanstalk Farms to be, as decentralized as we want Beanstalk as a whole to be. And often that means, a number of distributed contributors. So I don't know exactly what the size is. I actually think from an engineering perspective, we're in personally, I think we're in a pretty good spot right now and may grow a little bit to add some additional eyeballs on things like Solidity code. But yeah, I think we're in a pretty good spot.
I could share some thoughts there too. I mean, I think that it is noticed that there, as we've trimmed down, there has been a little more strain, some people wearing a little, there was definite, I think that if we were going at this pace consistently, you'd be risking burnout from some people. I'm looking at one of them and his initials are SC. I think that the extra adrenaline of this whole thing has really, a lot of people have really pulled through and really been champs. But I do think that we could, it's easy to say that, you want to be lean and mean, but you also want, it is also tough to work in a more, decentralized thing where there aren't, there's not a central, leadership, top-down sort of CEO type role, right? So I think that it is, it's kind of requiring more of people to sort of self-manage, and that can be, I think it can ultimately mean a little bit less output per person, but it can be. There's a lot of really good benefits to it too. There's a lot of sort of self, kind of a little bit more checks and balances among the different groups, sort of working in, kind of in pods, you could say, pun intended. But that's been really, we were having some growing pains as we, approached this. And, part of that was, just basically how to structure this. I mean, we have the departments, but, there was, we were working through, kind of a team of, PMs and whether or not that was sort of too rigid, or, there was a lot of kind of internal discussions over this. So what's the, the right amount? I think it depends on what type of output that you're looking to, to achieve in what amount of time. We were growing very quickly, but the protocol was also growing very quickly. So we were trying to keep up with a lot of, increasingly growing fast demands. So this has been a great, period of reflection and trimming down to just the core of what we need to achieve this barn raiser. But at the end of it, I think we will be seeing some growth, probably with the idea of hiring and bringing people on a little bit slower, with a little bit more making sure people are the right fit, and a little bit less of, oh, great, you want to work at Beanstalk Farms, let's find you a place, with more of a, sifting through a bunch of different people to find the right person, and having a little bit more of a cautious approach towards hiring. I think that that's where I'm, that's where I would lean in all of this, but, it also, I think it's really going to come down to the different department heads finding who they really want, advocating for that person, convincing the other department heads, and then going through more of a formal hiring process is kind of where I hope to see it go. But, this is all a little bit out in the future. And I hope to have a lot of governance chats too, where, we have sort of similar to what we were doing right before the exploit, where we were having these, at least an hour a week governance chats with the community to make sure that, everything we were doing was, there was a lot of feedback from the community, from the DAO, and to make sure that we weren't just making these, these unilateral decisions. So that's all I have to say on that.
I'll just say, Dumpling, I don't know where you came up with this SC thing. I'm fucking amped up. So we're moving forward, baby. We're moving forward.
Okay.
Sounded like an energy drink.
That's right. That's right.
All right. What do we got? Yeah, small break for everyone after the barn raise. Maybe 12 hours off. So that Chad can get a long sleep. Can we talk about root finance?
Soon. Very soon we'll have something out about root finance. But as Manifold said, it's going on. Root finance is going on, and we'll have something to announce about it pretty soon.
Dr. Beans brings up barn raise as a service. Best raising model yet. That's a pretty cool idea. Yeah, sort of like, Olympus bonds as a service, but barn raise as a service. Kind of a cool idea.
Awesome.
Do they get Beethoven songs? That's the question.
Great question.
We hope to have one Beethoven song coming out today, and maybe another one as well tomorrow.
Definitely another one tomorrow. Queued up. It's the hottest one yet. Guys, we have now. Maybe we take one more question, but the DeFi Trader space has just started, so I think we're gonna. Could someone drop a link for that?
Yep. Yeah, I'll drop it.
Sounds good, man. Thank you. I'll answer one last question here from Mew about the barn raise contract. So the barn raise contract is custom code, but despite what it might seem, given how much is going on around the barn raise, it's actually a very, very simple contract. And so we'll share the code with that publicly before it's launched. But it's I mean, basically all it's doing is recording a bid and moving funds to the multi-sig. So very simple, avoids a lot of the complexity that we saw with governance and things like that.
All right. Well, everyone, hope to see you in the spaces, and there'll be time for questions there that you guys can ask any other questions for Publius. Yeah. Thanks, guys. And come on Sunday, we got a little happy hour. That's going to be pretty fun. We're going to have some Beethoven songs. I think we're going to have a small Beethoven concert. So, yeah, head over there. And have a couple brews before we start this barn raise on Monday.
Thanks, everyone.